I have the same, thoughts whenever I'm leasing, to tenants. Nobody wants their house to turn into a crack house like this guy is saying. He's saying, do you do a visual inspection of the property after it's been leased? That's a common question. That's a great question. Like, can you show up at a reasonable time and inspect the property? Because this landlord doesn't, he's afraid of his property being a crack house.
Right. So we do
going on, just to check up on it.
So we do use a service. There's a company out there that we do use for an additional fee that, we can schedule it for once a year, twice a year, 3 times a year to go out to visually inspect the property. Just makes it so much better because it's a third party company where like, hey, we are literally just the property inspection company. We're not, we're not the management company, nothing. Don't ask us any questions. We're here to take pictures of the property, do our job, and move along. And, kind of leaves the tenant, without bothering them or anything like that.
Right. And another thing I like about property management too, or one thing I recommend is you mentioned in your presentation that, you don't need to necessarily meet them, become friends with these, tenants. You really want that, kind of business relationship, not interact with them as much. And I like that. And I highly recommend that because we actually don't even tell our tenants that we're the owners. We kind of act as a property management. Well, we go through our property management, like LLC that we have just for our outlying Houston properties. But can you elaborate like on the pros and cons of that, of why you shouldn't necessarily be
the owner?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's something that I mentioned quite a bit is that, you're supposed to evaluate an applicant and qualify them based on their income, their credit score, their criminal history, their tenant history. If for some reason they're not qualified for the house based on those criteria, I'm not sure what talking to the tenant or the applicant would that change, right? I'm sure it's going to be an amazing story or sad one, but ultimately that's going to affect you later. That you're going to listen to the story and give them some leeway. You can believe it or not, but I don't know. Like I always hear owners or landlords talk like, yeah, I interview every single tenant. I'm like, based on what? Based on their appearance, that you think they're going to pay rent, or is there something beyond those certain criteria that you think they should qualify for the house? And I think the answer is going to be no. And that goes for everything, right? If you go buy a car, they're going to run your credit and see if you qualify for the car based on your income and credit. If you want to buy a house, you qualify based on your income and credit. That should be no different than when you're renting a house. If they qualify based on their income, credit, criminal, in our case, criminal, and also tenant history, if they have any evictions.